feel like the luckiest man on earth right now. And I want you to know that I am not a hero in this at all. And President Trump is a hero.
Wow, that is incredible. Mark Fogel calling Donald Trump a hero for getting him home from Russia. Welcome to another edition of Spark the Conversation. This is your host, Mark the Spark, bringing you today's news. Well, our first topic today is talking about this middle school teacher who was detained in Russia for quite a long time. I think it was like 4 years. He's been in a Russian jail for having medical marijuana, I believe, was the charge that they held him on, which seems to be pretty much standard. It's the same thing they held Brittany Griner on, and whether they're legitimate claims or not, we'll never really know because we can't really trust the Russian government, to be honest. However, after Joe Biden showed no interest in saving this guy from Russia and negotiating to get him set free, Donald Trump, within 3 weeks, was able to fulfill a promise that he made to Mark's mother and get him freed from the Russian jail. And not only that, but he made a much better deal than Sleepy Joe did for Brittany Griner. Well, Brittany Griner was traded for the Merchant of Death, a international arms dealer who is selling dangerous weapons to terrorists across the world. Donald Trump was able to trade Mark Fogel and get him released from Russia in exchange for a money launderer, which I would say is a much better trade, a much better deal. Of course, we know that Donald Trump is a master negotiator, and so that's why he was able to secure this deal. He made a promise to Mark's mother, like I said, to get him set free. And not only that, did he follow through with this promise, but he also met Mark late at night. This would have been way past Joe Biden's bedtime. And he met him on the tarmac to welcome him back home to America from being kept overseas in a Russia prison for that extended period of time. So here's a clip of them meeting on the tarmac way after what Joe Biden's bedtime would have been.
My thanks is for you and your administration and these amazing people that have brought me home. And I just will spend the rest of my life indebted to you and the country. And I'm so excited. So great. Thank you very much.
Welcome home.
Some of our great people, Speaker of the House.
Pleasure to meet you, Mark.
So as you can see, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson is also there to welcome Mark home. And the weather was quite chilly. You could see the snow falling. So they waited in inclement weather to greet this guy coming home from being kept in Russia for over 3 years. Then they met at the White House after that. Trump was gracious enough to host him and also offered to let him stay overnight in Lincoln's bedroom, which is quite generous. And you could just see how gracious of a host Donald Trump is. Also, you could see the clip, like the rest. This is the rest of the clip that we started with, of Mark calling Trump a hero, rescuing him from Russia.
I feel like the luckiest man on earth right now. And I want you to know that I am not a hero in this at all. And President Trump is a hero. These men that came from the diplomatic service are heroes.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke last night about his release.
None of this is possible without President Trump. This is the 10th American that's come home after being detained somewhere overseas in just 3 weeks in the White House. It's an extraordinary achievement.
I can't release until the person's released. Obviously, it could endanger a hostage release, and that I can't do. But I can say that we expect another one tomorrow, and hopefully a lot more through that because the president's made it a priority to get all Americans home.
Clearly, everybody in agreement that the only way this happens is with the negotiating ability of Donald Trump. And not only that, but his peace through strength initiative has been the leading factor in, all these winning negotiations. The world has now come to realize that the United States is back in charge. We are back in power. We have the strength, economically speaking, diplomatically speaking, and we just have the staff and the skill and the knowledge to win the battles. And not only that, the willingness to win the battles, which is really the key. The want and ability to win the battles and win the negotiations is clear for the world to see now. And it's all led by Donald Trump. This would not have happened without him. Here's a clip from CNN. Even they had to acknowledge the success in this ability to free this Mark Fogel. And this is his sister on talking about the promise Donald Trump made to her mother. And again, promises made, promises kept.
My mother went to the Trump rally and saw President Trump shortly before he was shot.
In Butler,
So
right?
it was
In Butler, where she's from.
It's just a crazy turn of events. And he told her then that if he was elected, he was going to get him out. And the man was true to his word.
True to his word indeed. And like I keep saying, this administration has been nothing if not transparent and following through with their promises to the American people. And you could see it in the polling. The polling has been very consistent. There's another poll out yesterday talking about the popularity of Donald Trump, again, coming out of 53%. But you can see that 70% of the country agrees that Donald Trump is doing what he promised to do. And here's another example. We're giving example after example after example of Donald Trump and his administration following through on what they said they were going to do, which is why he's so popular, because he got elected on these ideas and these points that he's going after. And now he's just doing what he said he was going to do. So of course he was going to maintain the popularity of that. In Senate hearings today, Tulsi Gabbard was confirmed and also sworn in. Only one Republican, Cocaine Mitch McConnell, did not vote for her. He has showed time and again that he is a rhino, and thank goodness he's not Speaker of the House anymore. Maybe we should thank Matt Gaetz after all. I didn't think it was a good idea at the time to boot him, but I do think that his time has definitely had come. So now we have Mike Johnson, who's way better. And so Mitch McConnell, his time is up. Hopefully he gets booted out of office pretty soon, replaced with a true conservative. But here's a clip of Tulsi Gabbard being sworn in the Oval Office.
Tulsi Gabbard, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely.
I take this obligation freely.
And so her swearing in is great news for the administration, and now they can move forward, repairing some of our intelligence agencies within the federal government as well. Hopefully working closely with DOGE and Elon Musk to clean up some of the inefficiency and waste that's going on there. Probably some fraud and abuse as well. So in other news, President Trump met with the King of Jordan, King Abdullah, yesterday, and they had some talks, both publicly and privately. And in the public, Donald Trump was talking about them taking some of these Palestinians, which Jordan had initially rejected the idea and has now accepted the fact that they'll take 2,000 sick Palestinian children, at least. I think that number is probably going to go up. They'll probably take more citizens of Palestine, both adults and children in the end, because, Donald Trump, he's going to keep pushing and pushing. This is King Abdullah also showing that the world has changed and is now accepting Donald Trump as the leader of the free world.
President, I truly believe that with all the challenges that we have in the Middle East, that I finally see somebody that can take us across the finish line to bring stability, peace, and prosperity to all of us in the region. And it is, I think, our collective responsibility in the Middle East to continue to work with you, to support you, to achieve those lofty goals. So I'm very delighted to be here, and as you said, sir, we've had some very interesting discussions.
Very good. Very good. Thank you very much.
So King Abdullah acknowledging that President Trump is the one who will bring peace and prosperity to the Middle East. And knowing that, he will probably be willing to negotiate when Donald Trump asks him to take more of these Palestinian citizens. Here's some more of that conversation.
Why should the king take in the Palestinian people? He's made clear he doesn't want to.
Well, I don't know, but he may have just something to say because we discussed just briefly. I think maybe you want to say it now, or?
Well, Mr. President, I think we have to keep in mind that there is a plan from Egypt and the Arab countries. We're being invited by Mohammed bin Salman to discussions in Riyadh. I think the point is how do we make this work in a way that is good for everybody? Right. Obviously, we have to look at the best interests of the United States, of the people in the region, especially to my people of Jordan. And we're going to have some interesting discussions today. I think one of the things that we can do right away is take 2,000 children that are either cancer children or in a very ill state to Jordan as quickly as possible, and then wait for, I think, the Egyptians to present their plan on how we can work with the president to work on the Gaza challenges.
And we'll be working on the rest with Egypt. I think you're going to see some great progress. I think with Jordan, you're going to see some great progress. There's three of us, and we'll have some others helping, and we're going to have some others at a very high level helping, and the whole thing will come. It's not a complex thing to do. And with the United States being in control of that piece of land, a fairly large piece of land, you're going to have stability in the Middle East for the first time. And the Palestinians, or the people that live now in Gaza, will be living beautifully in another location. They're going to be living safely. They're not going to be killed, murdered, and having to leave every 10 years, because I've been watching this for so many years. It's nothing but trouble.
And again, King Abdullah acknowledging that there are other countries in these talks and that they are willing to come together and work out a deal. And President Trump was pretty clear on what his intentions are. So our Vice President, J.D. Vance, a big upgrade from the past, was in France and attended an AI summit, and a bunch of world leaders met to have some discussions on this new technology. And J.D. Vance was very clear and stated to the world that America is going to lead in this new technology, in this great new world, and we are going to lead with freedom of speech especially will be a priority, and also the prosperity of the American people will be a priority as well. Increasing jobs, increasing wages, and increasing opportunities in general. His speech went on for about 15 minutes, but I'm going to clip through some of it so that you could see what he was talking about.
I'm not here this morning to talk about AI safety, which was the title of the conference a couple of years ago. I'm here to talk about AI opportunity. When conferences like this convene to discuss a cutting-edge technology, oftentimes I think our response is to be too self-conscious, too risk-averse. But never have I encountered a breakthrough in tech that so clearly calls us to do precisely the opposite. Now, our administration, the Trump administration, believes that AI will have countless revolutionary applications in economic innovation, job creation, national security, healthcare, free expression, and beyond. And to restrict its development now will not only unfairly benefit incumbents in the space, it would mean paralyzing one of the most promising technologies we have seen in generations. Now, with that in mind, I'd like to make 4 main points today. Number 1, this administration will ensure that American AI technology continues to be the gold standard worldwide, and we are the partner of choice for others, foreign countries, and certainly businesses as they expand their own use of AI. Number 2, we believe that excessive regulation of the AI sector could kill a transformative industry just as it's taking off, and will make every effort to encourage pro-growth AI policies And I like to see that deregulatory flavor making its way into a lot of the conversations this conference. Number 3, we feel very strongly that AI must remain free from ideological bias and that American AI will not be co-opted into a tool for authoritarian censorship. And finally, number 4, the Trump administration will maintain a pro-worker growth path for AI, so it can be a potent tool for job creation in the United States. And I appreciate Prime Minister Modi's point. AI, I really believe, will facilitate and make people more productive. It is not going to replace human beings. It will never replace human beings. And I think too many of the leaders in the AI industry, when they talk about this fear of replacing workers, I think they really miss the point. AI, we believe, is going to make us more productive, more prosperous, and more free. The United States of America is the leader in AI, and our administration plans to keep it that way. The U.S. possesses all components across the full AI stack, including advanced semiconductor design, frontier algorithms, and, of course, transformational applications. Now, the computing power this stack requires is integral to advancing AI technology. And to safeguard America's advantage, the Trump administration will ensure that the most powerful AI systems are built in the U.S. with American-designed and manufactured chips. Now, just because we're the leader doesn't mean we want to or need to go it alone, of course. And let me be emphatic about this point. America wants to partner with all of you. And we want to embark on the AI revolution before us with the spirit of openness and collaboration. But to create that kind of trust, we need international regulatory regimes that fosters the creation of AI technology rather than strangles it. And we need our European friends in particular to look to this new frontier with optimism rather than trepidation. Now, the development of cutting-edge AI in the U.S. is no accident. By preserving an open regulatory environment, we've encouraged American innovators to experiment and to make unparalleled R&D investments. Of the $700 billion, give or take, that's estimated to be spent on AI in 2028, over half of it will likely be invested in the United States of America. Now, this administration will not be the one to snuff out the startups and the grad students producing some of the most groundbreaking applications of artificial intelligence. Instead, our laws will keep big tech, little tech, and all other developers on a level playing field. Now, with the President's recent executive order on AI, we're developing an AI action plan that avoids an overly precautionary regulatory regime while ensuring that all Americans benefit from the technology and its transformative potential. And of course, we want to ensure the Internet is a safe place, but it is one thing to prevent a predator from preying on a child on the Internet, and it is something quite different to prevent a grown man or woman from accessing an opinion that the government thinks is misinformation. Meanwhile, for smaller firms, navigating the GDPR means paying endless legal compliance costs or otherwise risking massive fines. Now, for some, the easiest way to avoid the dilemma has been to simply block EU users in the first place. Is this really the future that we want? Ladies and gentlemen, I think the answer for all of us should be no. Now, there's no issue where we worry about more than regulation when it comes to energy. And again, I appreciated the comments of so many at the conference because they recognize that we stand now at the frontier of an AI industry that is hungry for reliable power and high-quality semiconductors. Yet too many of our friends are deindustrializing on the one hand and chasing reliable power out of their nations and off their grids with the other. The AI future is not going to be won by hand-wringing about safety. It will be won by building, from reliable power plants to the manufacturing facilities that can produce the chips of the future. I believe it will help us create and store new modes of power in the future, but right now, AI cannot take off unless the world builds the energy infrastructure to support it. Now, over the last few years, we've watched as governments, businesses, and nonprofit organizations have advanced unpopular and I believe downright ahistorical social agendas through AI. In the U.S., we had AI image generators trying to tell us that George Washington was black or that America's doughboys in World War I were in fact women. Now, we laugh at this now, and of course it was ridiculous, but we have to remember the lessons from that ridiculous moment. And what we take from it is that the Trump administration will ensure that AI systems developed in America are free from ideological bias and never restrict our citizens' right to free speech. Finally, this administration wants to be very clear about one last point. We will always center American workers in our AI policy. We refuse to view AI as a purely disruptive technology that will inevitably automate away our labor force. We believe, and we will fight for policies that ensure that AI is going to make our workers more productive, and we expect that they will reap the rewards with higher wages, better benefits, and safer and more prosperous communities. From law to...
So he makes some great points there. I know that was kind of a long clip, but he makes some great points there about the importance of freedom of speech integrated with AI, the importance of non-censoring people, making sure data is not skewed by somebody's personal vendettas, making sure we have the power grids that are so important, that are key in supporting the AI technology, and, making sure that it creates more profit and prosperity for the people of the United States. All really, really good points, all really key factors. And especially when a lot of the countries that are now performing censorship and also throwing people in jail for, saying things that other people don't like, it was very key that he comes out and spoke in this way. Another important point that I wanted to make is what an upgrade J.D. Vance is as Vice President of the United States. Here's a little clip. This is some of what we already watched, but I just want to show, it's a very short piece from J.D. Vance, and then it goes side by side with Kamala Harris, our former vice president, when she was talking about AI, and it looks like night and day. It's crazy to see.
Technology. And to safeguard America's advantage, the Trump administration will ensure that the most powerful AI systems are built in the U.S. with American-designed and manufactured chips.
AI is kind of a fancy thing. First of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence. But ultimately what it is it's about machine learning. And so the machine is taught. And part of the issue here is what information is going into the machine that will then determine, and we can predict then, if we think about what information is going in, what then will be produced in terms of decisions and opinions that may be made through that process.
I mean, it's like she's talking to children. And, she was so patronizing to people in general. But I think ultimately the reason why she spoke this way is because that was her level of understanding in these things. Any topic that she spoke on, her level of understanding of it was of a child. And so she had to talk to other people as if they were children, because I guess maybe that fends off some more complicated questions about what she was speaking, the topics she was speaking about. Because, if you talk to people like children, then they play that role and don't get sophisticated. I don't know. It's just crazy to see it side by side, that was what we were almost had as our president. I mean, we were just like so close. We were, well, it wasn't so close because Trump won pretty handily, but I mean, it was too close, even though it wasn't that close. But that's why they lost. And they still don't have better candidates. They still can't change direction. And we're just here to watch for entertainment. Now, our last topic of the day is talking about DOGE again. This is going to keep coming up. This is going to be a constant line item in this show, probably, because there's so much fraud, waste, and abuse in every department of the federal government. We all know that. Trump knows that. Elon Musk knows that. This is Carolyn Leavitt, who had a press conference today. This is just one piece of the press conference where she was asked about proving to the American people that DOGE is actually finding fraud, waste, and abuse. And of course, she brought the receipts.
JJ.
On DOGE and the fraud claims, Elon Musk in the Oval yesterday gave us some information on that. We're just wondering if there's some proof, evidence. Is the White House willing to share evidence of those fraud claims, or can Elon Musk come to the briefing room and share material evidence of what he's talking about?
Sure, I would love for Elon Musk to come to the briefing room. That's why we had him go to the Oval Office yesterday, where I think he provided great answers. He was speaking in layman's terms, speaking common sense to all of you in the media, but also to Americans at home. But I would say especially to all of you in the media, because I think it's a real fallacy that there's this alleged lack of transparency when it comes to DOGE. President Trump and Elon Musk have been incredibly transparent on what DOGE is doing. There is an X account with the DOGE handle. They are tweeting out what they are doing on a daily basis. They have a website where they are posting the receipts of the contracts that they are reviewing and the payments that they have stopped from going out the door. The secretaries of our departments have stopped from going out the door. And I would also say that before it was Elon Musk making our government efficient and accountable, it was some unnamed bureaucrat that none of you knew. Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. He's also now one of the most highly scrutinized men in the world alongside President Trump because of what he's doing and the access that he is allowing. So there's great transparency. As for the actual receipts, we are happy to provide them, and I actually brought some today because all of you know I love to bring the receipts. We have contracts upon contracts that we can send and provide this information to you. Let me be very clear. We are not trying to hide anything. We have been incredibly transparent, and we will continue to be. These are screenshots of contracts that DOGE found across our government. This is a DEI contract, $36,000 for U.S. citizenship and immigration services. That is against the president's policies and his America First agenda. This is a $3.4 million contract, a Council for Inclusive Innovation at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, Department of Commerce, another DEI contract that DOGE identified. I can continue to go through these. Oh, I love this one, $57,000 for climate change in Sri Lanka. What is this doing to continue the interests of the American people? Absolutely nothing. These are the line items across the federal government that DOGE is identifying daily. They're moving very fast. There's a lot of paper that we can show you, but we're happy to do it. This administration has been more than transparent about what DOGE is doing. And here's one of their tweets that they posted about the mine. I believe this is in Pennsylvania, where the federal employee retirement system is being processed. Did anybody know this was even happening in our country before Elon Musk talked about it in the Oval Office yesterday? A lot of Americans didn't. So we are providing transparency and accessibility on a daily basis when it comes to DOGE. And I also have a DOGE daily report, if anybody would like it, on all of the things that they are identifying and finding. We're happy to provide this information to you. We're talking about it every single day.
Are all those things you just mentioned fraud, or are they waste, or are they just contrary to the president's policies?
I would argue that all of these things are fraudulent, they are wasteful, and they are an abuse of the American taxpayer's dollar. This is not what the government should be spending money on. It's contrary to the president's priorities and agenda. And again, we can continue to provide you the receipts for all of the fraud, waste, and abuse. And if anybody in here wants to argue that the federal government is not fraudulent in some capacity, be my guest, because I think the American people watching at home would beg to differ.
Like I've said before, DOGE and Elon Musk, under his guidance, is just echoing the sentiment of the American people. The American people, for years and years, has known that there is fraud, waste, and abuse at every level of government, and the federal government, with a $2 trillion federal budget deficit and a $37 billion debt load, has the biggest amount of fraud, waste, and abuse that could ever be imagined. You know, I'm reading a Thomas Sowell's basic economics book right now, and it talks about the benefits of a large economy and also the downsides of a large economy. And it's called the economy of scale and the diseconomy of scale. And his point he makes about the diseconomy of scale is the fact that when something gets too large, it's unmanageable. And that's where a business would fail because it's not efficient anymore. And there's no buy-in from the people who are managing and the people on the ground who are doing the work. Well, the federal government is not immune to this same crisis. The only problem is, since it's not a business, it can't be held accountable to, making profit or being sustainable economically. And so since it's immune from that, it just creates inflation, which affects all of us in different ways than a business would. It just can't fail, right? It just can't fail. And if it does fail, it's going to be catastrophic, not only for the United States, but for the whole world. But there's so much concern from the left about this DOGE. And it's ironic to see because, and it's just sad because I don't know who is against making the federal government more efficient. I think that's kind of crazy. We're all for it. We want this fraud, waste, and abuse rooted out of our government and in the system, but they can't stop. They think that they're popular in this topic for some reason, but they're not, and they're losing. The statistics show it, and it's fun to see. But the danger is not in a constitutional crisis like they say. In fact, here's a clip of Donald Trump talking about the fact that he will listen to judges even if they're leftist activists. He'll just go through the process of appealing. It's just going to slow down the process of making the government more efficient.
If a judge does block one of your policies, part of your agenda, will you abide by that ruling? Will you comply?
Well, I always abide by the courts, and then I'll have to appeal it. But then what he's done is he slowed down the momentum, and it gives crooked people more time to cover up the books. You know, if a person's crooked and they get caught, other people see that, and all of a sudden it becomes harder later on. So, yeah, the answer is I always abide by the courts, always abide by them, and will appeal. But appeals take a long time.
So, like he says, he's going to follow the rule of law. He's going to listen to the judges. He's going to go through the process. And like Carolyn Leavitt said, there is nobody who's been more transparent than DOGE. And anybody really in the Trump administration, everybody has been transparent on the up and up. He gives more press conferences than Joe ever did. He probably has more in his first 3 weeks than Joe had in 4 years. He's had the press in the Oval Office every time he signs documents. He has the press on Air Force One. When was the last time you saw a video of a president with the press on Air Force One? I can't remember, because the last 4 years, you'd be lucky to see Joe from a distance stumble up the stairs of Air Force One. So this is a transparent administration, and they're doing the work that the people want them to do. Anyways, that's all I have for today. I appreciate you watching again. If you subscribe, like, comment, or follow, I'd appreciate it. This is a one-man operation. We don't make anything off of this. I'm just doing this for the fun of it. I appreciate all the support. But don't forget to go out and volunteer for something meaningful and spark the conversation.